Have you noticed how everything can change in a single moment? Yet before that moment arrives, it often feels as though nothing will ever change. That is where many people lose hope. They mistake silence for abandonment. They mistake delay for denial. They mistake the absence of visible movement for the absence of God. But what if this very hour is different? What if the reason your spirit has been restless is not because you are being forgotten, but because your situation is standing at the edge of a turning point you cannot yet see? Stay with this message, because what feels like the end of your strength may actually be the beginning of God's greatest intervention. Do not allow your emotions to become your evidence. Do not let the voices of disappointment become louder than the voice of truth. There are battles that cannot be won by running harder. There are storms that cannot be silenced by your own hands. There are moments when the greatest act of faith is not to force another door open, not to chase another person for an explanation, not to defend yourself against every accusation, but to become still before God. Stillness is not surrendering to defeat. Stillness is refusing to let fear become your master while God is already working in places your eyes cannot reach. Some of you have been carrying wounds that nobody around you truly understands. You smiled when your heart wanted to cry. You encouraged others while secretly wondering who would encourage you. You remained loyal to people who walked away without looking back. You defended those who later spoke against you. You gave your trust, your kindness, your time, and your prayers, only to discover that not everyone valued what you carried. The betrayal did not only break your expectations, it shook your confidence. You began asking questions that echoed through sleepless nights. God, did you see what happened? Did you hear every lie? Did you notice every tear that never reached another person's eyes? Those questions are not hidden from God. Every silent prayer has been heard. Every injustice has been witnessed. Every moment you felt invisible has been fully known by the one who never loses sight of his purpose. While others measured your life by what they could see, God was measuring it by what he was building inside you. While people judged your delay as failure, God was strengthening a foundation that could survive what would have destroyed a weaker spirit. That is why you must not panic now. The chapter you are living through is not the whole story. God is turning your situation around. And when he moves, he does not merely repair what was broken. He reveals that his timing was accomplishing something far greater than your disappointment could ever understand. There is a dangerous moment that comes just before a breakthrough, and many people never recognize it. It is the moment when everything around you appears to confirm your worst fears. The phone stays silent. The opportunity slips away. The people you expected to stand beside you become strangers. Doors close without explanation, and every attempt to move forward feels as though you are walking against a powerful wind. Your mind begins collecting evidence that nothing will ever change. Fear becomes a storyteller, whispering that your best days are behind you, that you missed your chance, that someone else has taken the place you prayed for. But fear has always been a poor prophet. It speaks with confidence while knowing nothing about what God has already set in motion. The fact that you cannot see movement does not mean there is no movement. Seeds grow in darkness long before they break through the surface. Rivers carve valleys beneath the ground before anyone notices their strength. In the same way, God often begins the greatest transformations where human eyes have no access. You are judging your life by today's circumstances. while God is shaping your future with tomorrow already in view. That is why you must not let temporary evidence rewrite eternal truth. Your emotions may be loud, but they are not your authority. Your circumstances may be painful, but they are not your destiny. God's purpose is not defeated because your situation has become difficult. Think about how quickly people change when your life enters a difficult season. Some who once celebrated your presence quietly disappear. Others begin speaking about you with certainty, even though they know almost nothing about your struggle. They assume your silence means weakness. They mistake your patience for defeat. They watch your waiting and conclude that God has forgotten you. What they cannot see is that God often removes applause before revealing purpose because He does not want your confidence resting on human approval. If everyone continued clapping for you, you might never discover how deeply you depend on their opinions. So God allows seasons where the crowd grows quiet, where familiar voices fade into the distance, where you are left with only one question. Will I still trust God when nobody else believes in what He has spoken over my life? That question changes everything. Real faith is not proven when answers arrive quickly. Real faith is revealed when the answer has not yet appeared, yet your heart refuses to abandon the one who has never abandoned you. Every day you choose trust instead of panic. Every night you choose prayer instead of bitterness. Every morning you rise again after disappointment instead of surrendering to despair. Something powerful is happening within you. God is building a spirit that cannot be controlled by circumstances, manipulated by rejection, or destroyed by temporary setbacks. The people who underestimated you believed your story ended with the pain they witnessed. They never imagined that the same season they called your downfall would become the foundation of a testimony they could not deny. So be still, not because the battle is small, but because the God who holds your future is greater than every voice that says your situation cannot turn around. The silence is not empty. The waiting is not wasted. Even now, while you cannot trace every step, God is arranging what no human hand could ever orchestrate. And when His timing unfolds, what once looked impossible will become undeniable. There are moments when God does not immediately remove the pressure because the pressure itself is exposing what could never have been revealed in comfort. You have been asking God to change the situation, but perhaps God has first been changing you. Not to punish you, not to weaken you, but to prepare you for a future that demands a stronger spirit than the one you had yesterday. If everything had happened according to your schedule, would you have developed this level of endurance? If every prayer had been answered the moment you spoke it, would your faith have learned to stand without visible proof? If every relationship had remained comfortable, would you have discovered who truly belonged in your life? Sometimes the greatest miracle is not that the storm ends immediately. The greatest miracle is that while the storm continues, your heart begins to change in ways the storm never expected. The fear that once controlled you starts losing its voice. The opinions that once trapped you begin to lose their power. The disappointment that once defined your thinking slowly gives way to a quiet confidence that cannot be explained by logic alone. That is what God does. He transforms the person before He transforms the circumstances, because a changed heart will know how to handle the blessing that is coming. Look honestly at what you have survived already. There were days you believed you would never recover from the heartbreak. Nights when sleep refused to come because your mind replayed every painful conversation, every betrayal, every false accusation, every unanswered question. You searched for reasons that never came. You hoped certain people would apologize, but they never did. You expected justice to arrive quickly, but instead you watched those who hurt you continue living as though nothing had happened. That kind of pain can poison a person's spirit if it is carried long enough. It whispers dangerous thoughts. It tells you to become cold because warmth only leads to disappointment. It tells you to stop trusting because trust always ends in betrayal. It tells you to build walls so high that nobody can ever reach your heart again. But listen carefully. Pain may explain your scars, but it must never become the architect of your future. If you allow your wounds to decide who you become, then the people who hurt you continue controlling your life long after they have walked away. God did not preserve you through every attack so that bitterness could become your identity. He preserved you because He still has purpose written over your life, and purpose cannot flourish in a heart chained to resentment. Perhaps what hurts the most is not simply what people did to you, but what they convinced others to believe about you. There is a unique pain in being misunderstood. You know your intentions, yet your character is questioned. You know the sacrifices you made, yet people speak as if you never cared. You remain silent because you refuse to fight every rumor, and your silence was interpreted as guilt. There were moments when you wanted to defend yourself, to explain every detail, to prove that the accusations were false. Yet somehow, every explanation seemed to create another misunderstanding. Have you ever wondered why God sometimes allows your voice to become quiet while everyone else's grows louder? It is because there are victories that cannot be achieved through endless arguments. Human approval is temporary. Today's supporters can become tomorrow's critics. The crowd changes with circumstances. But when God decides to reveal the truth, no amount of deception can permanently hide it. Truth does not panic because it knows time is on its side. Lies demand constant maintenance. Truth simply waits. That waiting can feel unbearable, but it is never meaningless. God is not asking you to ignore injustice. He is teaching you not to become consumed by it. There is freedom in knowing that your identity is not determined by the opinions of people who only know fragments of your story. You have probably asked yourself more than once, why is this taking so long? That question echoes through the hearts of countless people who are waiting for something only God can provide. Waiting stretches every emotion. It challenges every assumption. It exposes every hidden fear. At first, you wait with excitement because you believe the answer is close. Then excitement becomes impatience. Impatience slowly turns into frustration. Frustration begins whispering that perhaps nothing is coming at all. That is where many people surrender. Not because God stopped working, but because the waiting became heavier than their expectations. Yet consider this. What if the length of the wait is not evidence of God's absence, but evidence of the size of the assignment ahead? A builder spends more time laying the foundation for a great structure than for a temporary shelter. The preparation is longer because the purpose is greater. God is not interested in giving you something that collapses under the first sign of pressure. He is preparing something that can endure. Every delay that feels unbearable today may become the very reason you are able to stand tomorrow when others would have fallen. Do not overlook the quiet work God is doing inside your thoughts. Before your circumstances changed, your thinking had to change. Before your surroundings reflected hope, Hope had to be planted within you. Too often people wait for external evidence before they choose peace. But God invites you into a different kind of life. He calls you to experience peace before the answer arrives, confidence before the opportunity appears, and gratitude before the breakthrough becomes visible. That kind of faith confuses fear, because fear depends entirely on what it can see. God invites you to live from what He has promised, rather than from what your eyes currently report. Every morning you choose gratitude instead of despair. Every moment you reject the temptation to believe the worst. You are strengthening a spirit that cannot be shaken by changing circumstances. You are no longer reacting to every setback as though it defines your future. Instead, you are learning to see each challenge as another reminder that your future is held by God, not by chance. There is another reason you must remain still. When anxiety takes control, it pushes you toward decisions that satisfy today's emotions while damaging tomorrow's future. Fear convinces people to abandon opportunities too early, to trust the wrong voices, to return to unhealthy situations simply because they are familiar, or to settle for far less than God intends. Panic always demands immediate action. Wisdom often requires patient restraint. There is immense strength in refusing to move simply because pressure tells you to. Imagine standing at the edge of a river after heavy rain. The current is violent. It looks powerful enough to carry anything away. Only someone driven by panic would rush into those waters without waiting for the flood to settle. In the same way, emotional storms distort judgment. God is protecting you not only from the dangers you can see, but also from the mistakes you would make if you allowed fear to become your guide. What feels like divine delay may actually be divine protection. What feels like a closed path today may be the very thing preventing a greater loss tomorrow. So if your heart is tired, do not mistake exhaustion for the end of your story. If your eyes are filled with tears, do not assume they are falling onto empty ground. God has not forgotten the prayers whispered through trembling lips. He has not ignored the moments when you chose integrity instead of revenge, patience instead of panic, and hope instead of surrender. Every unseen act of faith matters. Every quiet decision to keep trusting matters. Even now, while the pieces seem scattered beyond repair, God is fitting them together with a wisdom far beyond human understanding. The same God who carried you through every season you thought would destroy you is still at work today. The turning point does not begin when your eyes finally witness the miracle. It begins the moment your heart decides that God's faithfulness is greater than your fear. Be still, because while you have been wondering whether anything is changing, God has been turning what looked like an ending into the beginning of a future that no betrayal, no rejection, no accusation, and no delay will ever be able to stop. Have you ever noticed that the darkest battles are often the ones nobody else can see? People look at your face and assume you are fine because you still manage to smile. They hear you say, "I'm okay." And they never realize that behind those two words is a heart fighting to hold itself together. They do not hear the conversations you have with yourself when the room grows quiet. They do not know how many times you have questioned your worth after being rejected by people you love. They do not know how exhausting it is to carry responsibilities while your own spirit feels empty. There are moments when you begin to wonder whether anyone truly sees the weight you carry. But hear this with every part of your soul. God has never overlooked a single burden resting on your shoulders. Every tear you wiped away before anyone else noticed, every silent cry hidden behind closed doors, every prayer spoken through trembling lips has been fully known by the one who understands your heart better than you understand it yourself. You are not fighting this battle in isolation. You may feel alone among people, but you have never been abandoned by God. One of the greatest lies fear ever tells is that your present condition is permanent. It wants you to believe that because you have been waiting for so long, this is simply how your life will always be. It whispers that disappointment has become your identity and that struggle has become your destiny. But fear survives by convincing people to mistake a season for a lifetime. Seasons change. Winter never has the authority to cancel spring. Night has never been powerful enough to stop the sunrise. In the same way, your current circumstances do not possess the final word over your future. God does. The pain you are experiencing has an expiration date, even if you cannot read it yet. The confusion has an ending. The loneliness has an ending. The injustice has an ending. The waiting has an ending. What feels endless to you is still held within the perfect timing of God. That is why you must guard your heart against hopelessness. Hope is not pretending the storm does not exist. Hope is refusing to believe the storm is greater than the God who commands every moment of your life. There is something else happening beneath the surface that many people never recognize. While you have been waiting for your circumstances to change, God has been separating you from everything that could not go where He is leading you. At first, it felt like loss. Friends became distant. Certain opportunities disappeared. Familiar routines were interrupted. Doors you expected to open remained firmly shut. You thought your world was shrinking, but in reality, God was making room for something far greater than you could have imagined. Not every closed door is a punishment. Sometimes a closed door is protection. Sometimes an unanswered request is mercy. Sometimes the opportunity you desperately wanted would have carried hidden pain that only God could see. Looking back, how many moments have you realized that what once felt like a disappointment eventually became a blessing in disguise? The same God who protected you then is protecting you now. Trust does not require understanding every detail. Trust requires believing that God's wisdom reaches beyond the limits of your perspective. The people who walked away from your life may have believed they were leaving you empty, but they underestimated the God who fills what people abandon. Human rejection can never cancel divine purpose. In fact, there are times when God allows certain relationships to end because those relationships have quietly become barriers to your future. Some people only celebrated you as long as you remained small enough to make them comfortable. They enjoyed your kindness but resisted your growth. They applauded your generosity but became uneasy when your confidence began to rise. They preferred the version of you that constantly doubted yourself because your insecurity made them feel secure. The moment God began strengthening your spirit, resistance appeared. Do not confuse resistance with failure. Sometimes resistance is confirmation that change has begun. The enemy of your peace is often revealed the moment you decide to stop living in fear. Not everyone who leaves your life is taking something from you. Some departures are clearing the path so that what God has prepared can finally arrive without obstruction. Perhaps the hardest battle you are facing is not against the voices around you, but against the voice within you. Self-doubt has a way of repeating every painful memory until it feels like absolute truth. It reminds you of every mistake, every rejection, every time someone said you were not enough. It gathers old disappointments like stones and places them in your hands until your future feels impossibly heavy. But God never intended for you to build tomorrow using yesterday's fears. Every new day is an invitation to release what has been crushing your spirit. You cannot receive fresh strength while tightly holding yesterday's despair. You cannot recognize new opportunities if your eyes remain fixed on old wounds. God is calling you to loosen your grip on everything that keeps convincing you your best days are behind you. The past may explain where you have been, but it does not have permission to decide where you are going. Your future belongs to God, not to your regrets. There are moments when stillness feels almost impossible because every instinct inside you wants to take control. You want immediate answers. You want justice today. You want every wrong made right before the sun sets. Yet if God granted every request according to human urgency, many lives would be shaped by impulse rather than wisdom. There's incredible power in learning to wait without surrendering your peace. Stillness is not passive. It is active trust. It is standing firmly while fear screams for you to run. It is praying while anxiety demands panic. It is choosing faith while uncertainty surrounds you on every side. That kind of stillness is not weakness. It is spiritual courage. It declares that God's promises are more dependable than changing emotions. It refuses to let temporary pressure produce permanent decisions. Every time you remain steady instead of reacting impulsively, you are demonstrating that your confidence rests in God rather than in circumstances. Imagine for a moment what will happen when this season finally turns. The people who assumed you would never recover will struggle to understand the peace they now see in your life. The opportunities that once seemed unreachable will begin appearing in ways you never expected. The strength you thought you had lost will return with greater depth than before. But the greatest miracle will not simply be the outward change. The greatest miracle will be the person you have become through the waiting. You will discover that the pain which once threatened to destroy you actually deepened your compassion. The silence that once frightened you taught you to hear God more clearly. The delays that once frustrated you developed patience that no shortcut could have produced. The betrayals that once broke your heart taught you to anchor your identity in God instead of in human approval. You will look back one day and realize that the turning point did not begin when circumstances changed. It began the moment you stopped allowing fear to define your future and entrusted every unanswered question to the one whose wisdom has never failed. So remain still a little longer. Do not surrender now. The same God who has carried you through every impossible chapter is already turning pages you cannot yet see. And when His purpose unfolds, you will understand that not a single tear, not a single delay, not a single lonely night was ever wasted in His hands. The moment you stop demanding that God explain everything is often the moment your heart begins to experience a peace that circumstances cannot steal. You have spent so much energy trying to understand why certain doors closed, why certain people betrayed you, why opportunities disappeared just when you thought your breakthrough had arrived. You replay conversations in your mind, searching for one sentence you should have said differently. You revisit decisions, wondering whether one small change could have prevented all this pain. But what if the answers you have been chasing are not what your soul truly needs? What if understanding every detail would not heal your heart nearly as much as trusting the one who already sees the complete picture? God does not ask you to ignore your questions. He invites you to place them in hands that are wiser than your own. There are mysteries that only time will explain, and there are others that may never be fully understood in this life. Yet even without every answer, you can still possess unshakable confidence because God's faithfulness has never depended on your ability to understand His every move. His wisdom reaches where your imagination cannot. His purpose extends beyond the horizon of your present circumstances. What feels confusing today is already clear to Him. What appears delayed to you is unfolding with perfect precision in His hands. Do not underestimate the power of remaining faithful during a season when nothing seems to reward your faithfulness. Anyone can remain hopeful when life is moving exactly as planned. It takes a different kind of spirit to continue praying when the answer has not yet appeared, to continue choosing integrity when dishonesty seems to prosper, to continue showing kindness after being treated unfairly, to continue believing in God's promises while your visible reality appears to argue against them. That kind of faith is not weak optimism. It is quiet strength forged through countless unseen battles. Every time you refuse to allow disappointment to harden your heart, you become stronger than the trial itself. Every time you reject bitterness, even though you have every reason to embrace it, you declare that pain will not become your master. Every time you choose hope over despair, you silence the lie that your future has already been decided by your present struggle. God sees those moments that no one else applauds. Heaven notices the victories that never appear on a stage. The world celebrates visible success, but God also honors the unseen courage that keeps a weary soul standing when giving up would have been easier. There are people who thought they had written the final chapter of your story. They watched your setbacks and quietly concluded that you would never recover. They measured your future by your lowest moments. They assumed that because you were wounded, you would remain weak forever. But they made one critical mistake. They calculated your future without considering God. Human predictions collapse the moment God begins to move. The limitations people place on your life have no authority over the purpose God has spoken. Those who underestimated you only saw what was happening around you. They never saw what God was building within you. They did not witness the nights when your faith grew stronger through tears. They did not see the quiet transformation taking place while you continued trusting God without visible evidence. They assumed silence meant inactivity, but God's greatest work often happens where human eyes cannot reach. Same people who believed your story was ending may one day witness a life they cannot explain. Not because you became greater than them, but because God's faithfulness proved greater than every obstacle that stood against you. Do not rush ahead of the timing God has prepared simply because waiting has become uncomfortable. Fruit picked before its season lacks its fullness. A building occupied before its foundation is complete cannot withstand the storms that will eventually come. In the same way, blessings received before the heart is ready can quickly become burdens instead of gifts. God is not withholding your future to frustrate you. He is preparing both the future and the person who will step into it. Imagine receiving everything you have prayed for while still carrying the same fears, insecurities, and emotional wounds that once controlled your decisions. Would you truly enjoy the blessing? Or would fear convince you that you were about to lose it? God wants to give you more than answered prayers. He wants to give you the inner stability to steward what He places into your hands. That is why this season matters. The waiting is shaping your character. The silence is strengthening your trust. The uncertainty is teaching you to depend on God instead of unpredictable outcomes. None of this is wasted. Every difficult day is adding another layer of strength that your future will one day require. So lift your eyes higher than the disappointment that surrounds you. Refuse to build your expectations on yesterday's failures. Refuse to allow betrayal to become the lens through which you see every new opportunity. Refuse to believe that one painful chapter has the authority to define an entire lifetime. Your story is still being written by the God who specializes in bringing hope where others only expect defeat. He is already working beyond the limits of what your eyes can perceive. Even now, while you are wondering how everything could possibly come together, He is aligning circumstances, opening unseen pathways, softening hearts, removing obstacles, and preparing moments that will arrive exactly when they are meant to. One day you will realize that the delay protected you, the silence strengthened you, the struggle refined you, and the waiting positioned you for something far greater than you would have settled for in your impatience. Until that day arrives, guard your peace with unwavering determination. Stand firm when fear demands that you run. Remain still when anxiety urges you to force what God has not yet released. Keep praying when your emotions tell you to quit. Keep trusting when your eyes cannot yet see the evidence. Because the God who carried you through every storm has not brought you this far to abandon you now. He is turning your situation around in ways that will exceed every expectation, silence every lie spoken against you, heal wounds you thought would never close, restore strength you believed was gone forever, and reveal with unmistakable clarity that His timing has been perfect all along. When that day comes, you will not merely celebrate the blessing. You will stand in awe of the God who transformed your deepest pain into the very foundation of your greatest testimony, proving once again that those who remain still before Him never wait in vain. The day is coming when you will no longer speak about this season with tears in your eyes, but with gratitude in your heart. You will remember the nights when you thought you could not endure another moment, and you will realize that God was carrying you even when you felt too weak to stand. You will remember the silence that once frightened you, and you will discover that it was never empty. It was filled with unseen purpose, hidden preparation, and divine wisdom working beyond the limits of your understanding. You will remember the people who walked away, the doors that refused to open, the prayers that seemed to disappear into the darkness. And you will finally see that none of those moments had the power to cancel what God had already determined for your life. They were chapters, not the ending. They were delays, not denials. They were tests, not your identity. So stop measuring God's faithfulness by the speed of your breakthrough. Do not let one difficult season convince you that your future has been stolen. God has not lost control. He has not overlooked your tears. He has not forgotten the promises that continue to echo within your spirit. Every moment of waiting has been accomplishing something deeper than you could imagine. Every setback has been shaping a resilience that success alone could never produce. Every disappointment has been separating you from a version of yourself that could never carry the future God intends to place in your hands. The very pressure that tried to break your confidence has been strengthening your dependence on God, and that dependence will become one of the greatest sources of strength you will ever possess. Do not allow bitterness to steal what pain could not destroy. Refuse to become the person your wounds tried to create. Choose compassion over revenge. Choose peace over panic. Choose faith over fear. The people who misunderstood you do not control your destiny. The voices that criticized you do not write your future. The circumstances surrounding you do not have the authority to define who you are. God alone holds that authority. When you understand this, something remarkable happens. The chains of anxiety begin to fall away. The need to prove yourself to everyone begins to disappear. The desperate pursuit of human approval loses its grip on your heart. You become free, not because every problem has already vanished, but because you know the one who is greater than every problem you will ever face. There will come a moment when everything God has been preparing begins to unfold with a clarity that leaves no room for doubt. The connections that seemed impossible will come together. The opportunities you believed were lost will be replaced by ones you never imagined. Strength will rise where weakness once lived. Peace will settle where chaos once ruled. Hope will stand where despair once whispered. And when you look back, you will understand that if God had answered every prayer exactly when you demanded it, you would have missed something far greater than what you were asking for. His delays protected you. His silence matured you. His wisdom guided you through dangers you never even knew existed. What once looked like unanswered prayers will reveal themselves as acts of mercy beyond your understanding. So be still. Not because the storm is imaginary, but because God is greater than the storm. Be still, not because the battle is easy, but because the one who holds your future has never been defeated. Be still when fear tells you to panic. Be still when disappointment tells you to quit. Be still when the voices around you insist that nothing will ever change. Let your stillness become a declaration that your confidence is not rooted in circumstances but in God. Let your peace become evidence that your trust is stronger than your fear. Let your perseverance become proof that no betrayal, no rejection, no accusation, and no delay can separate you from the purpose God has prepared for your life. From this moment forward, refuse to bow before hopelessness. Wake each day expecting God's wisdom to guide your steps. Walk with quiet confidence even when you cannot yet see the entire path. Speak with courage when doubt tries to silence your spirit. Guard your heart against despair, because despair cannot live where trust in God is continually renewed. Hold tightly to hope, not because life has become easy, but because God has remained faithful through every chapter you have already survived. The same God who carried you yesterday is carrying you now. The same God who opened impossible doors before can open them again. The same God who strengthened you through tears will strengthen you through triumph. One day, sooner than you think, you will stand in a place where the weight that once crushed you has been replaced by peace you cannot fully explain. You will see that every lonely night, every painful goodbye, every unanswered question, every moment of waiting was woven together by the hand of God into something more beautiful than your imagination could have conceived. Your heart will no longer be chained to yesterday. Your spirit will no longer tremble before tomorrow. You will walk forward with the quiet confidence of someone who has discovered that God's timing never fails, God's wisdom never falters, and God's purpose never returns empty. So breathe deeply. Quiet the noise within your soul. Release the burden you were never meant to carry alone. Stop chasing what God has already told you to leave behind. Stop fearing what God has already promised to overcome. Stand where you are. Trust where you cannot see. Wait without surrendering your hope. The God who has counted every tear, heard every whispered prayer, and witnessed every hidden battle is already turning your situation around. What seems impossible today will become the reason you never again question His faithfulness. Your waiting is not empty. Your story is not over. Your breakthrough is drawing closer with every passing moment, and when God moves, no force on earth can stop what He has decided to bring into your life. Remain still, remain faithful, and watch as the God who never fails transforms your greatest trial into undeniable proof that His power is always working, even when your eyes cannot yet see it. When God is about to give you something big, the atmosphere around your life begins to shift. You may not see it yet, you may not understand it yet, but deep within your spirit, you will feel it. There is a holy tension. There is a stirring, a pressure, a spiritual shaking. It is not confusion, it is preparation. It is not chaos, it is construction. Because before God releases something big, He always rearranges everything that cannot hold what He is about to pour out. And when you are about to receive something greater than anything you've ever imagined, you will not move through life the same way. You will start to see signs, clear, divine signs, that something is shifting in your favor. These signs are not ordinary. They are not coincidences. They are signals from heaven, markers that God is moving the unseen pieces of your destiny into alignment. But make no mistake, when God is about to bless you in a big way, it will not always feel comfortable. In fact, it will often feel like everything is being taken away from you. That is a mystery of divine transformation. When God is about to increase you, He will first separate you. When God is about to lift you, He will first humble you. When God is about to trust you with something mighty, He will first test your foundation to see if it can hold the weight of His glory. The first sign you will see when God is preparing you for something big is divine disconnection. Suddenly, people who once walked closely with you will begin to drift away. Friends who once understood you will now misunderstand you. Those who once supported your vision will begin to question it. You will look around and realize that the crowd you once relied on is gone. But hear me. This is not rejection, it is redirection. God is pruning your circle, not because those people are evil, but because they cannot breathe in the altitude you are about to rise to. You cannot carry everyone into the next season of your destiny. Some relationships are seasonal, some are assignments, and some are only meant to awaken you, not accompany you. When God starts removing certain people, do not chase them. Thank God for them and let them go. Because their exit is the proof that your elevation is near. The second sign is spiritual warfare intensifies. You will notice unusual resistance. You will face attacks that seem unexplainable the moment you begin to move closer to your breakthrough. the enemy will unleash everything to discourage you. Suddenly, the peace you once had seems fragile. The thoughts in your mind grow heavy. The temptation to give up becomes stronger, and you begin to ask, why is everything going wrong when I am trying to do right? That's because you are no longer a threat when you're stagnant. You become a threat when you are close to something divine. The battle always gets fiercest near the gate of blessing. The pressure increases because you are about to push something powerful into existence. Do not interpret the warfare as a sign of failure. It is confirmation that something holy is near. The third sign is unexplainable isolation. You may find yourself in seasons where no one understands your spirit anymore. Conversations that once fed you now feel empty. You go into rooms full of people, but still feel unseen. That isolation is not punishment. It is divine incubation. God pulls you away to speak to you directly. The crowd cannot hear what heaven is whispering. Isolation is the classroom of revelation. When God hides you, it means He is about to reveal something new through you. So, when you find yourself alone, do not cry out for company. Listen for clarity. That loneliness is often the sacred space where God shapes vision, direction, and discernment. What feels like silence is actually strategy. The fourth sign is everything familiar begins to fail. The things that once worked stop working. The plans you made begin to fall apart. The doors that were once open begin to close. It feels as though the ground beneath you is shaking. But remember this, when God wants to move you to the next level, He will make your current level uncomfortable. When He wants to promote you, He will frustrate your routine. You may feel like your efforts are wasted, but they are not. God is simply disrupting what you have built to make space for what He is about to build through you. He is closing one door not to punish you, but to protect you from settling in a place that was never your final destination. The fifth sign is an increase in divine hunger. You will begin to sense a deeper pull toward God. Your spirit will crave silence, prayer, reflection, and obedience. You will lose taste for distractions, gossip, and worldly pleasures. Suddenly, what used to entertain you will no longer feed you. You will wake up at strange hours of the night feeling an urge to pray or meditate. That is not random. That is the Spirit of God drawing you closer, because your next blessing requires spiritual maturity. God will never release big things into unprepared hearts. So when your appetite for His presence increases, understand it is preparation. He is refining you, resetting your spirit, and deepening your roots, so that when the blessing comes, it will not destroy you, but sustain you. The sixth sign is unusual instructions. When you are close to a major breakthrough, God will begin to ask you to do things that do not make sense. He will call you to obey in areas that challenge your logic. He might tell you to give something away, to move to a new place, to leave a job, or to speak to someone specific. At that moment, your reasoning will wrestle with obedience. But understand this, every instruction from God is a seed for the next level. The greater the blessing, the stranger the instruction often is. Those who receive great things are those who obey without delay. When you learn to trust the whisper, you will witness the wonder. The seventh sign is an inner assurance that cannot be shaken. Even when everything looks uncertain, you will feel an unexplainable peace. It is not the peace of circumstance. It is the peace of alignment. You will sense that somehow everything is still working for your good. You may not know when or how, but deep down you know it's coming. This is the quiet confidence of faith. It is when your spirit begins to carry the fragrance of victory before your eyes ever see it. When that peace settles in your soul, know this: heaven has already released what you have been praying for. It is only a matter of time before it manifests in your hands. Now listen carefully. When these 7 signs begin to show up, do not panic and do not complain. Too many people misread the process and abort their own blessing by murmuring against the very God who is promoting them. When everything starts to shake, lift your hands and thank God. When people leave, thank God. When plans fail, thank God. Because each disruption is a divine signal that something greater is being built in the unseen. You are not losing. You are leveling up. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not being rejected. You are being refined. God never gives big blessings to small minds. Before He expands your life, He must first expand your faith. That is why you go through the fire. That is why you face storms. That is why your heart breaks before your destiny unfolds. Because in every trial, God is stretching your capacity to carry what He has already prepared. Every tear you shed is watering the soil of your future harvest. Every delay is developing the discipline you will need when the doors open. Every disappointment is training your spirit to depend on Him completely. You see, God's timing is not man's timing. We rush, but God prepares. We panic, but God plans. We look at the clock, but God looks at the heart. When you ask for something big, God will not say yes immediately. He will first prepare you to be ready for it. If He gave it to you too soon, you would mishandle it. If He promoted you too early, the weight of it would crush you. So He takes you through a process, a refining fire, a season of hidden training where He molds your patience, your endurance, your humility, and your gratitude. There is always a divine delay before a divine delivery. Every great destiny carries the weight of waiting, and those who can wait with faith will always witness God's power in ways others never will. So do not despise the waiting room. It is not empty, it is sacred. God does His deepest work in seasons of silence. While you are wondering if He forgot you, He is building your foundation stronger than ever. While you are crying, He is aligning. While you are praying, He is preparing. And when it's finally time, the blessing will not just appear, it will overflow. Do you feel the shaking around you right now? Do you sense the disconnects, the battles, the loneliness, the strange shifts? Then rejoice, because these are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are signs that He is near. You are closer than you think. The pressure you feel is not the end. It is the proof that you are in transition. You are being elevated from where you were to where you are meant to be. When an arrow is pulled backward, it is only so it can be launched forward with greater force. So if life feels like it's pulling you back, remember, it's because God is about to release you into something far beyond what you can imagine. Hold your faith steady. Guard your peace fiercely. Keep your spirit clean. Do not let bitterness, fear, or doubt steal your focus. The blessing is already in motion. Every obstacle is being turned into an opportunity. Every delay is being shaped into destiny. And every storm that came to drown you will soon reveal the power of God that carries you. When you begin to see these 7 signs, lift your head high and say, God, I trust your plan. Even when I don't understand it, I will not lose faith. Even when I cannot see it, I know you are working. Because faith is not seeing and believing. It is believing before seeing. The blessing is already written in your story. The miracle is already waiting for the right moment to meet you. Stay faithful. Stay alert. Stay humble. Something big is on the way. When God is preparing to give you something big, He does not start with the gift. He starts with your heart. Because if the heart is not ready, the blessing becomes a burden. Many cry out for increase, but few are willing to be reshaped for it. God does not pour new oil into an old vessel. He changes the vessel first. He refines it through circumstances that appear painful, but are actually purposeful. When everything feels uncomfortable, it is not that God has left you. It is that He is rebuilding you from within. The blessing you are praying for requires a stronger, wiser, more surrendered version of you. And that transformation happens only through divine pressure. When God is about to release abundance, He will first strip away dependency. He will pull away the false supports, the crutches, the comfort zones you leaned on. Suddenly, what once gave you strength will no longer satisfy you. What once seemed reliable will begin to crumble. You will feel as though you are standing alone. But this is the wisdom of God. He removes the substitutes so you can learn to depend only on Him. Because big blessings demand pure trust. When God sees that your confidence rests in Him alone, He releases the kind of provision that no human hand can take credit for. And when that trust begins to form, your eyes will open. You will start seeing life differently. The noise around you will no longer move you. The opinions of others will no longer define you. The disappointments of the past will no longer limit you. You will find yourself anchored, calm in the middle of storms, because you finally understand that everything happening is part of God's design. That awareness is power. It is peace born from revelation. It is when your spirit whispers, this pain is not for destruction, it is for construction. God is building something eternal in you that requires temporary discomfort. You see, when God is about to do something extraordinary, He often begins with something ordinary. He will ask you to be faithful in small things, in unseen places with unseen effort. It may seem as though your obedience is unnoticed, but heaven is watching. God measures greatness not by visibility, but by consistency. Before He gives you something big, He tests how you handle the small. Many people want elevation, but they ignore the training ground. They despise the small beginnings, not realizing that what looks insignificant today is the seed of tomorrow's greatness. If you can be faithful in silence, God will trust you with sound. If you can be diligent in obscurity, He will place you in influence. Do not be deceived by the slowness of God's process. What takes time to build lasts the longest. God is not in a hurry because He is perfecting you. Every delay is divine design. Every waiting period is a workshop for wisdom. You may feel impatient, but understand this: what God builds in patience cannot be destroyed by pressure. When your time comes, no one can stop it. No hand can block it. No system can delay it. Because when God commands a door to open, even the iron gates of impossibility must move. And yet, when the door finally opens, it will not surprise you. It will confirm everything your spirit already knew. You will realize that every season of pain had a purpose. Every prayer that felt unanswered was preparing the path. Every tear that fell in silence was watering the soil of your destiny. Because God wastes nothing. He uses even the broken pieces to build the bridge that leads to your blessing. You will look back one day and say, "Now I understand why it had to happen this way." But until that day comes, do not grow weary. Keep walking. Keep believing. Keep speaking life even when you feel surrounded by death. Your words carry creative power. When you align your speech with faith, heaven responds. Declare the promises of God over your life daily. Speak not from what you see, but from what you believe. When God is about to bless you, your tongue becomes a tool of manifestation. You must guard it from negativity, doubt, and fear. Speak as though the miracle is already done, because in the unseen realm, it is. In the days leading up to your breakthrough, you will also notice that distractions increase. Every petty conflict, every small irritation, every unnecessary argument will try to pull your focus. But this is the enemy's last attempt to drain your energy before the blessing arrives. Do not fall for it. When you are close to something great, you must protect your peace fiercely. Not everyone deserves access to your attention. Silence becomes your weapon. Stillness becomes your strength. The wise do not react, they remain rooted. When you stop responding to what does not matter, your spirit stays aligned with what does. And as you remain still, something extraordinary happens. You begin to discern the rhythm of God's timing. You stop forcing what isn't flowing. You stop chasing what doesn't align. You start understanding that when something is meant for you, it will not require you to beg or break to have it. It will come with peace. It will fit effortlessly. That is how you know it is from God. Divine blessings never come through manipulation. They come through manifestation. You do not chase them, you attract them through obedience. Let me tell you something powerful. Before every great blessing, there is always a test of faith. God will allow you to face a moment that contradicts the promise. He will allow you to stand in what looks like lack, even though abundance has been declared over you. That moment is not meant to destroy your hope. It is meant to reveal the strength of your faith. Will you still trust God when nothing makes sense? Will you still praise Him when nothing feels fair? Will you still hold His word above your fear? Those who pass this test step into realms of blessing that others only dream about. Because true faith is proven not in comfort, but in contradiction. And hear this carefully. When God is about to enlarge your territory, He will first enlarge your endurance. He will teach you to remain calm under pressure, kind under attack, and faithful under delay. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. The strongest people are not those who fight every battle, but those who discern which battles are worth fighting. Some storms are not meant to be resisted, they are meant to be ridden. Let God carry you through it. You will not sink, you will rise higher because of it. There will also be a moment when God tests your generosity. Before He can trust you with overflow, He will see what you do with little. When He tells you to give, it is not to take from you, it is to open a gate for you. Generosity creates spiritual circulation. The more you release, the more heaven releases back to you. A closed hand cannot receive. Many people pray for abundance, but live in fear of letting go. Yet every big blessing flows through open hands and open hearts. When you give freely, without hesitation, you declare that your source is not the world, it is God. And that declaration attracts miracles. When the blessing is near, God will also test your humility. Pride is the enemy of progress. Pride shuts the door to promotion faster than anything else. That is why, in the moments before you rise, God will bring situations that remind you of your dependence on Him. He will place you in positions where your own strength fails, so that you may remember who sustains you. Those who remain humble rise highest, because humility invites divine favor, and favor can do in one moment what effort cannot do in a lifetime. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the quieter heaven may become. Do not mistake silence for absence. When a teacher gives a test, they do not speak, they watch. God's silence often means He is observing your faith in motion. This is when you must anchor your soul in what you already know about Him. Has He ever failed you before? Has His word ever returned void? No. So even in the silence, He is working. Even in the delay, He is directing. Even when you cannot trace His hand, you can trust His heart. And then, just when you least expect it, the shift happens. Doors that were locked suddenly open. Paths that were hidden suddenly appear. What you prayed for months ago suddenly becomes reality. You will stand in awe, not because you received what you wanted, but because you finally understand why it took this long. God was never late. He was making sure everything was perfect. The timing, the place, the people, the conditions, all had to align so that when the blessing arrived, it would not just bless you, it would glorify Him. But remember this, when the blessing comes, do not forget the process. Many receive and forget. Many rise and lose their reverence. Never forget the wilderness that shaped you, the nights that strengthened you, the tears that cleansed you. Gratitude must become your lifestyle, not just your response. Gratitude keeps the flow of divine favor open. The more you thank God for what you have, the more heaven trusts you with what is next. So when you begin to see the signs, the separation, the warfare, the isolation, the discomfort, the divine hunger, the unusual instructions, and the inner peace, do not fear them. Embrace them. They are not signs of loss, they are signs of alignment. They mean heaven is active in your story. The unseen realm is moving on your behalf. The blessing has already been written. It is just waiting for the right chapter of your life to appear. God has not forgotten you. He has been preparing you. You are not behind, you are being positioned. Every pain has purpose. Every silence has strategy. And every step has significance. You may not see it now, but soon you will understand that every moment of waiting was worth it. Because when God gives you something big, it will not just change your circumstances, it will transform your identity. You will become the person who can carry the blessing without losing the presence. When God decides to release something big into your life, He does not merely bless your hands, He transforms your spirit. Because what God is preparing for you requires a new level of spiritual strength, discipline, and sensitivity. You cannot walk into divine abundance with the same heart that survived the wilderness. You must evolve. You must grow. You must become the vessel worthy of what is coming. And that is why, right before the greatest blessings, God begins a deep internal reconstruction. He takes you through seasons that demand forgiveness, humility, obedience, and unwavering faith. There are moments when you will feel as if the very ground beneath your feet is disappearing. The familiar pathways that once guided you no longer work. The people who once celebrated you now misunderstand you. You will stand between what was and what is not yet. That is the in-between season. The divine pause between promise and fulfillment. This is where many lose hope, but those who understand the ways of God recognize it as the bridge of transformation. God never promotes anyone without first preparing them in silence. The in-between is where your roots go deeper. It is where your trust becomes mature. It is where you stop depending on the visible and start depending on the invisible. And this is what separates those who receive from those who only desire patience. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active faith. It is standing firm when everything in you wants to run. It is continuing to sow even when the soil looks dry. It is believing that God's promise will not return empty, even when your surroundings scream otherwise. Every blessing that lasts is birthed through patience. Those who rush God lose what could have been eternal. But those who wait for His timing receive blessings that overflow across generations. When God is about to give you something big, He will also test your vision. He will ask you, can you see beyond your current struggle? Can you still dream in the dark? Can you still declare abundance while standing in lack? Because faith is the ability to see with your spirit what your eyes cannot yet witness. If you can hold the picture in your heart, God will bring it to pass in your life. He moves through vision. The clearer your spiritual vision becomes, the more aligned your actions will be. That is why the enemy tries to blind you with discouragement. He wants you to stop seeing. Because once you stop seeing, you stop believing. And once you stop believing, you stop moving. So guard your vision with prayer, with purity, with focus. As God draws you closer to breakthrough, He will also refine your priorities. You will begin to lose interest in things that waste your time. Conversations that once entertained you will now feel heavy. Environments that once felt comfortable will now feel constricting. That's because your spirit is awakening to higher standards. God cannot elevate a heart that is satisfied with mediocrity. He will stir a holy discomfort within you that pushes you toward purpose. That restlessness you feel is not confusion, it is calling. God is pulling you out of the ordinary so He can trust you with the extraordinary. And in that process, He will confront your fears. You cannot step into something big while still bowing to fear. Fear limits, faith releases. So God will lead you into situations that stretch your confidence, that challenge your courage. He will show you that your safety was never in control. It was always in surrender. When you finally let go and trust Him completely, you unlock a level of divine assistance that makes the impossible possible. What once intimidated you will become your testimony. What once made you doubt will become the stage where His power is revealed through your endurance. One of the most overlooked signs that something big is coming is unexplainable peace in chaos. The storm does not stop, but somehow you are calm. People around you panic, yet you stand anchored. That peace is divine confirmation that God's hand is already upon your life. When you can stand still in the middle of noise, you are proving to heaven that you are ready. The one who can remain still before manifestation will remain humble after it arrives. That peace is not natural. It is spiritual. It is God whispering to your heart, do not fear. I am already ahead of you. And hear this truth. When God is about to give you something big, He will require you to let go of something you love. It might be a relationship, a comfort, an attachment, or an old identity. God removes the temporary to make space for the permanent. You cannot carry what was and still receive what is to come. Many hold on to expired seasons, praying for new beginnings. But God cannot fill a hand that refuses to release. So when He asks you to let go, trust that it is not loss, it is an exchange. You are trading something limited for something lasting. During this transition, God will begin to surround you with signs of confirmation. You will hear a message that speaks directly to your situation. A door will open unexpectedly. An opportunity will align perfectly. Even nature seems to cooperate with divine timing. These are not coincidences. They are divine fingerprints. God leaves traces of His movement to strengthen your faith. He is saying, I am with you. Keep going. Recognize these signs. Thank Him for them. Because the more you acknowledge His hand, the more visible His guidance becomes. And then comes the divine test of perseverance. The blessing may be near, but the pressure will peak. You may find yourself at your breaking point. And that is precisely where many give up. But in God's pattern, the darkest hour is always right before dawn. When it feels unbearable, that is the sign that the womb of destiny is ready to release. Pain is often the final proof that birth is near. Do not give up when you are tired. Rest if you must, but do not stop. You have already come too far. Every tear, every prayer, every moment of faith has built momentum that heaven will not waste. The enemy will whisper, it's not worth it. It's not happening. But your spirit must rise and say, God has not brought me this far to leave me empty. This is how the chosen rise, by remembering who called them, even when they cannot see where they are going. The unseen hand that carried you through the valley will not fail you on the mountain. The God who sustained you in lack will multiply you in abundance. His nature is faithfulness. His language is timing. When God gives you something big, it does not come to glorify you. It comes to reveal Him. Your blessing is a tool of testimony. The more He gives you, the more He expects you to reflect His light. Do not hide what He does for you. Speak of it boldly, with humility, so others may know that the same God who lifted you can lift them too. True blessings never make you proud. They make you grateful. The more God gives you, the smaller your ego becomes, because you understand that without His breath, you have nothing. And as your blessing manifests, remember that increase also brings responsibility. God does not elevate for comfort. He elevates for purpose. Every resource He places in your hands carries an assignment. The greater the gift, the greater the stewardship. Use what He gives you to serve, to uplift, to heal, to build. The more you bless others, the more heaven flows through you. Because divine abundance was never meant to be contained. It was meant to be distributed. You may look around right now and see no sign of progress, but let me tell you, something is already shifting. The winds of change are blowing. God has already written your next chapter. You may not see the pages yet, but the ink is dry. Everything you lost will be replaced with purpose. Everything that broke you will soon prove why it had to happen. The pain was not punishment, it was preparation. The waiting was not wasted, it was sacred. There will come a day when you wake up and realize that everything makes sense. The tears, the tests, the losses, all of it. You will look back and see the fingerprints of God in every detour, every closed door, every lonely night. You will see that He was not delaying you. He was protecting you from lesser things. Because when God gives you something big, He does not want you to share the glory with anything or anyone else. He wants it to be clear that it was His doing, so that your testimony becomes a mirror reflecting His power. So hold your faith like a sword. Speak God's promises like fire. Refuse to doubt in the dark what He showed you in the light. You are not forgotten. You are being formed. You are not waiting for God. He is waiting for you to be ready. And when your spirit aligns, when your heart surrenders, when your obedience matches your prayers, the heavens will open. The flow of favor will be unstoppable. The blessing will come suddenly, but it will fit perfectly. And in that moment, you will know that every trial, every storm, every tear was worth it. Because you will see that God's plan was never to break you. It was to build you into someone strong enough to carry His abundance with wisdom, grace, and humility. The waiting will end, the promise will speak, and your life will become living proof that when God is about to give you something big, He prepares you perfectly for it, heart, mind, and soul. When the hand of God is about to move in your life, the atmosphere around you begins to change. You may not see it with your eyes, but your spirit begins to feel it. Suddenly, you sense that something in the unseen realm is shifting. You feel uncomfortable where you once felt secure, disconnected from places you once belonged. You begin to lose your appetite for meaningless conversations. Your heart grows restless, and your mind begins to crave peace, solitude, and clarity. That is not confusion. That is God calling you higher. That is the quiet voice of destiny telling you that your old season has expired. You are being prepared for something far greater than your past, far bigger than your imagination could ever conceive. When God is about to give you something big, He does not let you stay the same. He separates you from what cannot handle your future. He removes people, opportunities, and distractions that would sabotage what He is building in you. Do not mourn what God removes. Thank Him for it. Because when God starts subtracting, it is only because He is preparing to multiply. The soil of your life must be cleared before the seed of greatness can grow. You may not understand the process now, but one day you will look back and say, God, thank you for every door that closed, every delay that tested me, and every loss that taught me to depend only on you. When God wants to give you something big, He will shake your foundation. He will allow storms that test your faith and silence that tests your patience. You will wonder, why is everything falling apart? But the truth is, nothing is falling apart. Everything is falling into place. God is rearranging your circumstances so that when His blessing arrives, there will be no confusion about where it came from. You will know it was not luck, it was not coincidence, it was the divine orchestration of God Himself. You see, the path to divine elevation is never smooth. Every chosen one must endure the breaking before the blessing. You must learn to trust when you cannot trace. You must hold on when everything inside you wants to give up. Because faith is not proven in comfort, it is forged in pressure. It is when your back is against the wall, when you are surrounded by uncertainty, that the power of God begins to manifest. That is when He whispers to your heart, "Be still, for I am with you." You may not feel Him, but He is there. You may not see the plan, but it is unfolding with perfect precision. Do not mistake God's silence for absence. Many times, when God is about to release something big into your life, He goes quiet. The silence is not punishment. It is preparation. God is allowing your spirit to mature so that when His promise arrives, you can carry it with wisdom, humility, and strength. The waiting season is not wasted time. It is sacred time. It is in waiting that your roots grow deep. It is in stillness that your faith becomes unshakable. It is in isolation that your soul learns to lean fully on God. And hear me, when that moment finally comes, when the heavens open and the promise you have prayed for is released, you will understand why it had to take this long. You will understand why the pain had to stretch you, why the delays had to refine you, why the disappointments had to toughen your spirit. Because the weight of your blessing will demand a stronger version of you. The greater the promise, the deeper the preparation. God is not late, He is exact. And when the appointed time comes, not even the strongest enemy can stop what God has ordained for you. So I tell you today, do not give up. You are closer than you think. The struggle you are feeling right now is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign of transition. The pressure you feel is proof that something within you is about to be birthed. The discomfort is the doorway to destiny. You cannot step into divine greatness while holding on to old pain, old fear, or old ways of thinking. Let it go. Release it to God. Trust that whatever He takes away, He will replace with something far better. When God is about to give you something big, He tests your faith one last time. He asks, will you still believe when nothing makes sense? Will you still worship when you do not see results? Will you still trust when you are tired of waiting? That is the final exam before promotion. And if you can answer with unwavering faith, if you can say, God, even when I don't understand, I will still trust you, then heaven will move on your behalf. Because faith like that shakes the very foundations of the unseen world. Your greatest blessings are often wrapped in the most painful seasons. The enemy will try to convince you that God has forgotten you. But the truth is the exact opposite. You are on God's radar. You are in His process. Every tear, every setback, every sleepless night, it is all being used to build something powerful within you. God does not waste pain. He transforms it into strength. God does not waste delay. He turns it into preparation. God does not waste rejection. He converts it into redirection. Everything you are facing is preparing you for the moment when the promise finally unfolds before your eyes. And when that moment comes, you will not just receive a blessing, you will become a testimony. People will look at your life and see what faith can do. They will see the power of a person who refused to quit, who refused to bow to fear, who chose to trust in God even when the evidence said otherwise. And that testimony will not just glorify you, it will glorify the God who sustained you through the storm. So, stand tall, lift your head, dry your tears. God is not finished with you yet. The doors that were shut are about to open. The prayers that seemed unanswered are about to be fulfilled. The dream that looked dead is about to come alive. God has seen your faithfulness in private, and He is about to reward you in public. He is about to reveal what He has been preparing behind the curtain of your pain. You are entering a season of divine revelation, a season where everything that once confused you will begin to make sense. You will look back at the long nights, the loneliness, the broken seasons, and you will say, now I understand. God was preparing me for something greater than I could ever imagine. That realization will fill your heart with gratitude, and your mouth will overflow with praise. Because you will know it was not your strength that carried you, it was the hand of God. So let your faith rise again. Stand firm, even when the winds of doubt try to shake you. Keep walking, even when the path ahead is not clear. Keep believing, even when you have nothing left but a whisper of hope. Because that whisper, when anchored in God, is stronger than the loudest fear. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are chosen for something extraordinary. And as you step into this new season, do not carry the mindset of your past. Walk with the confidence of someone who knows that God is in control. Walk with the assurance that nothing, no person, no delay, no enemy can block what God has decreed. The same hand that closed the old doors is the hand that will open new ones. The same voice that told you to wait will soon say, now, this is your moment to rise. This is your time to align your heart, your thoughts, and your actions with divine purpose. Stop looking at what you lost and start preparing for what is coming. The magnitude of what God is about to release into your life will make every previous season worth it. You will not just survive, you will soar. You will not just receive, you will overflow. So I leave you with this challenge. trust God completely. Even when you cannot see, believe. Even when you do not feel, stand firm. Even when everything around you screams, impossible, declare in your heart that with God, all things are possible. Let your faith speak louder than your fear, your worship stronger than your worry, and your perseverance greater than your pain. Because the moment you refuse to give up, that is the moment heaven takes notice. That is the moment your breakthrough begins to move toward you. Very soon, you will see the manifestation of what you have prayed for. You will walk into rooms you once only dreamed of. You will receive opportunities that once seemed out of reach. You will live in the overflow of divine favor. And when that day comes, you will lift your hands and say, God, you did it. You kept your promise. You made a way when there was no way. So hold on, child of God. You are standing at the edge of your breakthrough. Do not turn back now. You have come too far to give up. The same God who began this work in you will complete it in power and glory. Keep believing, keep trusting, keep walking. Because the blessing that is coming will not just change your life, it will redefine it forever. Have you ever wondered why God is saying to you today, do not look for a job? Because the very word job has kept many people enslaved, chained, and imprisoned to a system that was never designed for their freedom. God never called you to be a servant of men, dependent on their approval, waiting for their wages, living in fear of whether they will keep you or replace you. God is saying to you, now your provision does not come from a job. Your destiny does not come from a company. Your future does not rest in the hands of another man. Your destiny is in my hands, and I, the creator of heaven and earth, will provide for you in ways no employer ever could. Many of you have been searching, striving, knocking on doors, sending resumes, waiting for opportunities, begging for acceptance, hoping for a little salary that cannot even sustain the vision God placed in you. And yet you still wonder why the doors keep closing. It is because God Himself is closing them. God is saying, I did not make you to be a beggar at the tables of men. I made you to sit at my table, to walk in my abundance, to live by my provision. When you look for a job, you are looking for a man to feed you. But when you look to God, you are tapping into the limitless supply of heaven. Do you not see? Every job has limits. Every employer has boundaries. They can give you only so much. They can cut you off. They can restrict your income. They can cage your dream. But God has no limits. When God becomes your source, when God becomes your provider, when God is the one you depend on, then the streams will never run dry, the doors will never shut, the blessings will never cease. God is saying to you, stop asking men to do for you what only I can do. Stop lowering your vision to fit into their system. Stop chasing positions that cannot hold the weight of your calling. You are not called to live a life of wages. You are called to live a life of purpose. God never designed you to work for mere survival. God created you to manifest destiny, to walk in abundance, to release His power into the earth. A job may feed your stomach, but only God's plan can feed your soul. A job may give you a paycheck, but Only God's vision will give you true prosperity. That is why you are restless. That is why no matter how many jobs you try, you still feel empty, unsatisfied, unfulfilled. Because deep inside you, God is whispering, this is not your portion. This is not your final destination. I have called you higher. I have called you to trust in me, not in man. Think about the systems of this world. They want you to believe that if you do not have a job, you are nothing, you are poor, you are a failure. They want you to be enslaved to the fear of unemployment. But God is breaking that lie in your life today. God is saying, your worth is not determined by a company. Your value is not defined by a title. Your success is not measured by a salary. I am your God and I am your provider. When you look for a job, you look for man's crumbs. But when you look to me, I open the windows of heaven and pour out blessings you cannot contain. Some of you are listening now and you are in a season where every job door has closed. You have applied and been rejected. You have tried and failed. You have waited and waited and nothing has come. And you thought it was the devil. You thought it was bad luck. But I tell you today, it was God. God himself shut those doors because he refuses to let you settle for less than what he has destined for you. God closed those doors because he does not want you to put your trust in man. God closed those doors because he is positioning you to see his hand, his power, his provision in your life. And now, the question is, will you keep chasing after men? Or will you lift your eyes to God? Will you keep begging for jobs? Or will you embrace the vision God has planted inside of you? Will you continue to run after salaries? Or will you allow God to be your source? God is not telling you to be lazy. God is not telling you to do nothing. God is telling you stop chasing jobs and start chasing purpose. Stop depending on men and start depending on me. Stop running after positioners and start walking in the destiny I ordained for you before you were born. Listen carefully. A job is temporary. A job can end in a moment. But the vision of God is eternal. A company may fire you, but God cannot fire you from the calling he gave you. A boss may replace you, but no one can replace you in the plan of God. That is why he says, do not look for a job. Look for me, seek me, trust me, follow me, depend on me, and I will open doors no man can shut. I will release provision from unexpected places. I will make a way in the wilderness. I will cause rivers to flow in dry places. God is raising you to see beyond the mindset of wages. The reason some of you struggle is because your mind is still trapped in the system of survival. You think, if only I get this job, my life will be secure. No, security is not in a job. Security is in God. You think, if only this company hires me, I will have peace. No, peace is not in employment. Peace is in God. That is why God says, do not look for a job. Look for my plan. Look for my vision. Look for the assignment I created you to fulfill. You may say, but if I do not look for a job, how will I live? How will I feed my family? How will I survive? And God says, did I not feed my people in the wilderness for 40 years? Did I not send manna from heaven and water from a rock? Did I not multiply oil in the jars of the widow? Did I not use ravens to feed my prophet? Do you not believe that I can do it for you? Stop asking how and start trusting. For I am the God who provides in ways no man can predict. I am the God who supplies from sources you cannot see. I am the God who makes the impossible possible. This is why some of you feel such a burning restlessness inside. You know deep down that you were not created just to sit in an office, just to follow orders, just to trade your life for a wage. You know you were born for more. And that voice you feel inside is not your imagination. It is the voice of God telling you, rise, break free, stop looking for a job and start walking into your purpose. Stop searching for men to sustain you and let me be your source. Then listen closely, because God is speaking to your spirit right now. God is saying, do not limit me to the system of this world. Do not confine my power to the corridors of offices, to the signatures of men, or to the promises of companies. I am greater than all of them. I am the one who opens doors that no man can close, and I am the one who closes doors that no man can open. I am not bound by the economy. I am not controlled by governments. I am not restricted by inflation or recession. I am God, and I remain the same yesterday, today, and forever. Do not look for a job. Look to me, for I will be your everlasting provider. So many people run from place to place, trying to find stability. But they end up exhausted and broken because they search where stability does not exist. The stability of man is fragile. The opportunities of man are temporary. The favor of man can change overnight. But the provision of God is unshakable. When God says He will take care of you, He does not depend on any earthly system to make it happen. He can send blessings through ways that no one else can explain. He can lift you from the dust and seat you among rulers. He can transform nothing into abundance. He can bring water out of a dry rock. He can command creation itself to respond to your need. This is why He says, do not waste your life begging for jobs when I have already prepared a destiny for you. The world wants you to be dependent. They want you tied to a paycheck, tied to a routine, tied to a cycle of working for survival until your strength is gone. But God wants you free. God wants you to be dependent only on Him. God wants you to live not from paycheck to paycheck, but from glory to glory. God wants you to experience the richness of His provision, not the crumbs of man's hand. That is why He sometimes allows rejection. That is why He sometimes allows applications to fail, interviews to end, doors to close, because He is trying to cut off your dependence on man and shift your eyes to Him alone. The truth is, a job can make you comfortable, but it can also kill your vision. A job can give you food, but it can also bury your calling. A job can give you security, but it can also suffocate your destiny. This is why God says, do not look for a job, look for my plan. Because when you follow God's plan, your provision is attached to your obedience. Your prosperity flows with your purpose. Your blessings are unlocked by your faith. And when you live this way, no man can stop what God is doing in your life. Consider this: God never created Adam and Eve to have jobs. He created them to manage, to govern, to expand, to multiply, to cultivate the garden He placed them in. That was not a job. It was a mandate. That was not employment. It was destiny. In the same way, you were not created just to clock in and clock out. You were not created just to survive until the end of your days. You were created to walk in authority, to manage the gifts God placed inside you, to multiply the talents He entrusted to you, to manifest His glory on the earth. That is why a job will never fully satisfy you, because you were not born to be employed by men. You were born to be employed by God. When God says, do not look for a job, He is not telling you to sit idle. He is commanding you to rise into your true work, the work He assigned to you before you were even born. Some of you have talents that have been buried under the weight of looking for jobs. Some of you have gifts that have been suffocated because you keep trying to fit into a system God never created for you. But God is awakening those gifts again. God is stirring those talents again. God is saying, stop burying what I gave you. Stop wasting what I placed in your hands. Stop begging men for wages when I gave you the power to create wealth through the gifts inside of you. Your gift is not just a hobby. Your gift is a key. It is the channel God designed to provide for you, to bless you, to lift you. Your talent is not just for decoration. It is your assignment. Do not despise what God gave you. Do not compare it to others. Do not say it is too small. Because with God, even the smallest gift becomes a river of abundance when placed in His hands. If God could take a shepherd's rod and turn it into a weapon that divided seas, if God could take a jar of oil and multiply it until it paid every debt, if God could take 5 loaves and feed thousands, then what can He not do with the gift He placed inside of you? That is why He says, do not look for a job. Look at what I placed inside of you. Look at the vision I wrote on your heart. Look at the talent I entrusted to you. You see, when you depend on jobs, you depend on salaries. But when you depend on God, you depend on streams. Salaries end. Salaries are fixed. Salaries can be stopped. But streams of God's provision never run dry. God can use your gift to open streams from places you never imagined. He can bring opportunities to you without you chasing them. He can cause nations to call your name. He can make the work of your hands fruitful beyond your imagination. This is why the enemy wants to keep you chasing jobs. Because he knows as long as you chase jobs, you will remain bound to limits. But when you embrace God's purpose, you step into limitless supply. Do not misunderstand this word. God is not against work. God is against slavery to man's system. God is not against effort. God is against fear-driven survival. Work is holy when it flows from purpose. Labor is honorable when it flows from destiny. But work without vision is bondage. Labor without God's direction is slavery. That is why God says, do not look for a job, look for your assignment. For in your assignment is your abundance. In your assignment is your joy. In your assignment is your freedom. And I tell you this truth, some of you have been sitting on ideas God gave you years ago, but fear kept you chained to the idea of a job. You were too afraid to step out. You said, what if I fail? What if it does not work? But listen, when God gives you the idea, the provision is already attached. When God gives you the vision, the resources are already waiting. When God gives you the assignment, He has already gone ahead of you to prepare the way. All He needs is your obedience. All He needs is your faith. All He needs is for you to say, God, I will trust you more than I trust a paycheck. Do not think you are too weak. Do not think you are too unqualified. Do not think you are too small. For when God becomes your employer, He trains you, He equips you, He strengthens you, and He multiplies what you have. The world may look at you and see nothing, but God looks at you and sees a nation inside of you. God looks at you and sees rivers inside of you. God looks at you and sees generations that will be blessed because of you. This is why He is saying to you with such urgency, do not waste your life chasing jobs. Fix your eyes on me. Walk in my calling. Trust my provision. Step into my purpose. I am your source and I will never fail you. Listen to me, for this is not the word of man. It is the stirring voice of God pressing into your spirit. I have not called you to spend your life searching for a job. I have called you to seek me, to walk in faith, to discover the greatness I have hidden inside of you. Too long you have thought that survival was the goal of life. Too long you have believed that your identity was tied to an occupation. But God is tearing off that lie today. God is lifting you into a higher truth. Your worth comes not from what you do for men, but from who you are in God. You must understand this. Jobs are designed by men to keep you functioning within their system. But purpose is designed by God to make you function in His kingdom. And the kingdom of God does not operate like the systems of men. In the systems of men, you must beg to be accepted. In the kingdom of God, you are already chosen. In the systems of men, you must climb ladders to be promoted. In the kingdom of God, promotion comes directly from His hand. In the systems of men, you are replaceable. In the kingdom of God, you are irreplaceable. This is why you feel restless in jobs, why you feel trapped, why no position fully satisfies you. Because your spirit was not created to be caged. Your spirit was created to soar in the vision of God. God is saying, stop seeking what will confine you. Start seeking what I designed to release you. That is the difference between a job and a calling. A job takes from you, but a calling releases from you. A job drains you, but a calling fills you. A job is temporary, but a calling is eternal. And I tell you, if you align with God's calling, provision will follow you like a shadow. Opportunities will come searching for you instead of you searching for them. Blessings will overtake you. For it is written, those who trust in God will be like a tree planted by rivers of water, bearing fruit in every season. That is not the fruit of a paycheck. That is the fruit of purpose, the fruit of obedience, the fruit of walking with God as your source. Now, you may say, but the world will not understand. People will call me irresponsible if I do not chase a job. And God replies, did I call you to follow the world, or did I call you to follow me? The world may laugh, but they laughed at Noah until the rain fell. The world may doubt, but they doubted Abraham until the promise came. The world may mock, but they mocked every prophet until my power was revealed. You cannot live by the approval of men and the provision of God at the same time. You must choose whom you will trust. And I declare to you, when you choose God, He will vindicate you before every doubter. He will lift you before every mocker. He will prove that His hand upon you is greater than the systems of men. Let me tell you something deeper. When you pursue jobs, you are pursuing survival. But when you pursue God, you are pursuing destiny. Survival is the life of animals. They search every day just to eat and exist. But destiny is the life of those who walk with God. They live to manifest His glory, to carry out His will, to become vessels of His abundance. Which life will you choose? To survive like a creature or to live like a child of the Most High? God is saying to you, I have placed eternity in your heart. Do not sell it for a wage. I have placed greatness inside you. Do not bury it under fear. I have placed light in you. Do not hide it in the offices of men. Some of you listening right now are on the edge of a breakthrough, but you are too afraid to let go of the system that enslaves you. You keep saying, what if I fail? What if it does not work? But I tell you, the only failure is refusing to trust God. The only true failure is living a life smaller than the one He designed for you. God is not asking you to figure out every detail. God is not asking you to have every resource. God is asking you for faith. Faith to believe that if He calls you, He will sustain you. Faith to believe that if He gave you a vision, He already prepared provision. Faith to believe that if you walk with Him, you will lack no good thing. And hear this, the enemy fears a man or woman who stops looking for jobs and starts walking in God's calling. Because jobs keep you busy, but callings make you powerful. Jobs keep you distracted, but callings make you dangerous. Jobs limit your reach, but callings make you unstoppable. This is why the enemy fights so hard to keep you chained to fear of unemployment. He knows the moment you break free from that fear and put your trust fully in God, you will become a weapon in the hands of the Almighty. You will become a light that no darkness can quench. You will become a living testimony that God is greater than the systems of men. Do you not see? Every man who ever did great things for God had to break free from the safety of man's system. They had to step into the unknown, trusting only in God's word. And every time God proved faithful. God is saying to you now, will you dare to trust me the way they did? Will you dare to leave behind the cages men built and enter the freedom I offer? Will you dare to stop chasing jobs and start chasing destiny? God never called you to be ordinary. He never called you to be just another worker in a crowd. He never called you to hide your gifts under the approval of a boss. God called you to be extraordinary, to stand out, to shine, to lead, to influence, to impact nations. And He will never allow you to find peace in the ordinary because His mark is on your life. That is why jobs will never fully satisfy you, because you were not created for them, you were created for God. And when you step into this truth, fear will lose its grip. You will no longer ask, who will hire me? Instead, you will declare, God has already appointed me. You will no longer fear, what if I do not get paid? Instead, you will declare, God is my source and His supply never fails. You will no longer wonder, what if they reject me? Instead, you will stand boldly and say, if men reject me, it only means God has something greater prepared. For those who put their trust in God cannot be disappointed. So rise up, break the chains of fear. Refuse to bow to the idols of employment. Refuse to sell your destiny for survival. Refuse to be enslaved by the system of man. Stand as a child of God and declare with all your heart, I will not look for a job. I will look to God. I will not chase wages. I will chase purpose. I will not depend on man. I will depend on God alone. Then hear this final word that God is impressing upon your spirit in this very moment. All your life, you have been told that survival depends on the hands of men, on the approval of employers, on the systems of this world. But today, God has torn down that lie. Today, God is calling you to lift your eyes higher, to see beyond the limits of wages and salaries, to see the vastness of His provision and the greatness of His purpose. You are not an accident wandering the earth, desperate for work. You are a vessel designed by God, carrying gifts that this world cannot contain. You are not here to beg for opportunities. You are here to manifest what God placed inside of you. You are not here to chase after jobs. You are here to walk in the calling of God, a calling that no man can cancel, a destiny that no system can block, a purpose that no rejection can erase. And I tell you, if you dare to trust God, if you dare to shift your dependence from man to Him, your life will no longer be ordinary. You will see provision come from unexpected places. You will see doors open where there were only walls. You will see rivers flow in deserts. You will see miracles in your daily bread. And more than that, you will know the freedom of walking not as a servant of man, but as a child of the Most High, sustained by His hand, guided by His voice, empowered by His Spirit. So this is the call of God to you today. Break free. Break free from fear. Break free from doubt. Break free from the chains of survival. Step into the truth that God is your source. Step into the boldness of faith. Step into the destiny that has been waiting for you since before you were born. Do not bury your gift any longer. Do not silence your vision any longer. Do not wait for permission from men. Rise, for God Himself has given you permission. Rise, for God Himself has chosen you. Rise, for God Himself will provide for you. And when you rise, do not look back. Do not return to the cage. Do not bow to the system. Fix your eyes on God and walk with the confidence that if He called you, He will sustain you. If He sent you, He will equip you. If He planted you, you will bear fruit in every season. Now go and let this word burn in your heart. God said, do not look for a job. Look for me. If you will do this, if you will trust Him above all else, you will not only see your own life transformed, but you will become a testimony for generations to come, a living witness that God is faithful, that God provides, and that God never fails those who put their trust in Him. So choose today. Will you remain bound to men, or will you walk in the freedom of God? The choice is yours. The call is clear. Step forward in faith and never look back.